I'm joined here on this extremely sweltering hot Wellington day with this. This is an E-flat bass. It's a member of the tuba family, and it's one of two sizes of tubas that we have in the traditional brass band. We have this one, which is pitched in the key of E-flat, and we have one slightly bigger, which is pitched in the key of B-flat. They're the two tubas that we have, and we don't call them tubas, we call them basses. And we do that because this instrument in and of itself is not a separate type of instrument in the brass band. It is merely the bass version of a family of brass instruments. So, for instance, we've got the B-flat member of this family, which is the bass member. It's the largest member. We've got the E-flat version, which is slightly smaller. We've got a B-flat euphonium, which is built on exactly the same principles as this, but is smaller in size. We have a baritone, which is built also on similar principles, although some of the dimensions are a bit smaller on the baritone. That too is pitched in B-flat, and we've got a tenor horn pitched in E-flat, an octave smaller than this, but all of those instruments are built on the same principles. So it is appropriate that in brass bands these get called basses because they are the bass member of the brass band. They're not necessarily a completely separate instrument themselves. They're not thought of as a tuba, and that fits in with the same principles of the bass member of the drum, the old drum and bugle corps. They used to have a tuba in G, although I understand they now use tubas in B flat, and they call them contras. It's not thought of as a tuba as its own instrument. It's thought of as the bass member or the contrabass member of the family of instruments that they use to create that band. So the reason why I've borrowed this instrument is because I'm wanting to do some brass multi-tracks. But I thought, well, I don't really have the resources available to me to do full brass band multi-tracks. But what I do have the resources to do, especially now that I've got the F horn that I've demonstrated in previous videos, the tenor core, is that I can do quintets, brass quintets. 2 trumpets, a horn and F, a trombone, and a bass, or in this case a tuba. I'm going to be playing it as a tuba. Now, one thing that some of you may not know is that in the brass band, every single instrument reads in treble clef apart from the bass trombone. So if you were a tuba player and you turned up with your instrument of choice to a brass band meeting, you'll find yourself needing to play treble clef. So as a result of that, if you gave me one of these and told me to sit down and play something, I'd prefer to read treble clef. But the really cool thing, and one of the things I love about the music, is the way that different things fit together in unexpected ways, is that if you're playing an E-flat tuba or an E-flat bass like this, and you want to read something in bass clef, you can, by having one really simple trick. You pretend it's in treble clef and add 3 sharps, and it'll fit perfectly. So if you've got a phrase that's in bass clef, you simply pretend that it's a treble clef, add 3 sharps, and you're away. You can read bass clef on an E-flat bass, even if you've never read it before. And it's things like that that really make me quite like music. You know, this instrument here, it's an old one. It's a Besson new standard E-flat bass. It's got relatively a small bell flare for the size of instrument. It's just sort of quite abrupt. It doesn't flare very much at all, which makes for quite a warm sounding instrument. Personally, I prefer the E-flat bass over the B-flat bass. The B-flat bass has got the same amount of tuning as my contrabass trombone, but I prefer the E-flat bass because I think it's got a warmer sound. I find it a lot easier to play, and the agility on this instrument is quite a lot more substantial than what I can achieve on a B-flat bass. So anyway, what I'll do is I'll just play something. Yet to decide what I'll play. I generally tend to recycle the same pieces of music when I come to do a demonstration of an instrument, so I might just do that. I've got the Arbin's variation to the Carnival of Venice up on my stand, so I might just go through this. Unfortunately, I'm recording this in my garage. Everything is rattling around here, so hopefully something somewhat musical is getting transmitted to the microphone in my phone. Right, that is all of that I'm going to play, largely because the springs in this bass are so heavy that my fingers are starting to get quite sore from having to wiggle them so much. So anyway, this has just been a really brief overview of this instrument here. I'm going to create a couple more videos talking about this instrument. So please subscribe to my channel, and if you've got anything that you want to see me do in terms of content, please feel free to ask. Thanks very much.